They all got tetanus and died a horrible death. Everyone is entitled to be wrong once in a while. All
Alright, we're coming in hot. Fade the intro. You know, the intro is a lot like a hot dog with pants. What? And why is that? Because I don't know how either one of them are made.
Good morning and welcome to News. I'm Russ and this is my ever-present announcer of notable events, weather, and sports, Jim.
Thanks, Russ. Our first story takes us to the merry old land of France, where Roland Agrit has proven to the world that sometimes you gotta be willing to give a little to get a little.
Yeah, so Roland was fresh out of the clink for check fraud when he found himself accused of the unlawful death of the man that had taken him in.
Yeah, so blah, 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 false witnesses, perjury, false imprisonment. He decides the only way to make these people listen is to start eating any and all silverware he can put his mitts on.
As you do.
Right, but it doesn't work. So 3 stomach operations later...
Hoping there's a punch card in there somewhere.
He hangs himself.
For justice!
Right, well, he was saved by a guard.
Alright, nobody move or I get it. No, please! Shut up, me, or I'll make me my bitch.
Yeah, so then he starts a hunger strike, which actually got him a reduction of sentence by the president, which means he was released from prison.
Yay!
But he still wasn't happy.
Oh, for sakes.
Yeah, see, Roland still had a criminal record because he was convicted. So to remedy this, he took the only action that made sense to him at the time.
He got a lawyer and filed an appeal.
No, he got a knife and cut off his pinky.
That was my second guess.
Yeah. So in the next few years, he cuts off another finger, threatens to sew up his mouth, and eventually shoots himself in the foot in order to achieve his final justice, which, funnily enough, he did, including compensation for the time he spent in prison for being wrongfully accused.
You know, I understand why the courts responded the way they did, but I can't shake the feeling that if they just waited a bit, this guy wouldn't have been as much trouble.
Oh yeah? Well, if you don't give me an appeal, I'll kill myself. Oh no, don't do that. That's the last thing we would want. No, don't.
Oh, he actually did it. Early lunch, everyone.
And we got Chip in the field next. Really? I thought he was dead.
I didn't even know it came with a rectal applicator. I thought it was a push pop.
Chip, we're live.
Yes. Jim, people down here in the acid district are at a loss for words when the unthinkable happened in between the acidic waste disposal depot and the explosives manufacturing plant.
Right off the top of my head, I've got some guesses.
Did it involve acid or explosives?
No, little Rory McAllister won the 5th annual pie made with water from around here pie eating contest. And we're told by the ER doctors that she's gonna be just fine.
That was both what I was expecting and not at the same time.
Rain! It's made of some kind of... I don't know. Stingy.
Acid?
Burny.
Acid?
Pain liquid.
Acid!
It was acid.
Hey, can I have a copy of that tape? What? Why? No reason. Definitely not for a sub-fetish group that pays top dollar for face melting videos. It's for... church. Oh. Okay then.
A former bank manager is facing some pretty serious charges after it's come to light that he was administering bare-bottom spankings for those clients that failed to make loan payments on time.
That's right, Jim. In the tiny town of Baden, Pennsylvania, a population of 4,377, bank manager David Rhodes admitted that he'd spanked all 50 of the delinquent customers, bragging that it was effective because I never had any trouble with them afterward.
So the banker was a spanker.
Yeah, and this all would have stayed in the shadows if it hadn't been found that he had been misappropriating funds to the tune of over $88,000.
88 grand, huh? What'd he buy, like a sports car, a fancy boat?
Nope. Some of the people he spanked blackmailed him into giving them loans they didn't qualify for. Said if he didn't, they'd tell his superiors.
Aha! So the spankee becomes the spanker.
The circle is complete.
This one's great. And the outtakes, a chimp eats a guy's scalp.
Is he mad?
If he's mad now, wait till he finds out the wheels are plastic. That's right! An industrial-sized hemorrhoid cushion! Tell me I'm not management material. I got your management right here, pal. Nothing but me pumps from now on.
And here's real money-saving news. Your General Tire dealer will give you full original price for your present regular tubes, regardless of condition.
But don't ask what he's doing with it, 'cause it's freaky and unnatural.
Monkey with flats. See your General Tire dealer.
I figured out where you keep the trank gun. Your is mine, Frankie.
Don't monkey with flats. Be like Sam's
Tiny people are dumb.
sold on General Puncture Sealing Safety Tubes.
Okay, so tell me again. Okay, so first we get a razor-sharp ice pick, right? Then we give it to a barely domestic wild chimp. Uh-huh. And then we train him to stab with it. Well, I'd be an idiot not to say yes. Tires shed their skins once a season when they mature and grow tusks.
Sam Spike reminds you, though.
See you in your nightmares, kids.
A quadriplegic has been charged with murdering his wife, whom he was only married to for half a month. The heinous deed was accomplished by using his mouth to yank a string that was attached to the trigger of a handgun. Those who had been there told the police that his wife had placed the string in his mouth not long before.
So Bertha Mae Burns, at the tender young age of 37, had her candle put out Monday night at a bar where she and her husband, James B. Burns, 40, who is confined to a wheelchair, decided to kick off their evening with some delicious cocktails.
Okay, so far this all just sounds like a bad joke.
Right. So stop me if you've heard this one before. So a blonde and a quadriplegic walk into a bar.
Where it takes a sharp left into back town is when you get to the gun. The police described the weapon that killed Bertha as a 9mm pistol mounted on a small board that Mr. Burns had across his lap.
I'd like to purchase your finest crotch gun, please.
A string ran around two small screws in the board, they said, with one end of the string running to the trigger. The shoebox that had covered the entire apparatus was removed before the shooting.
Take a look inside. It's my Glock in a box.
So, you might ask, how, or why, or maybe what the actual flying fuck?
Yes. All of it. All of that.
According to witnesses, they were sitting there talking in quiet tones, said a police detective, A.J. Tospel. She then got up and put a string in his mouth, and he jerked his head back once, and the gun went off.
Well, at least this is better than her original plan, which included 16 sets of dominoes, a bowling ball, 38 mousetraps, and a Civil War-era cannon filled with salad forks.
Okay, everybody, that's a wrap. Oh, thank God! This butt plug is killing me! That is a pine cone covered in peanut butter and seeds. Well, I guess now we know why the squirrels don't like the new feeder. Be sure to like and subscribe. Check out the other videos on the channel.